People are pissed off because they wrongfully think that people are disrespecting our flag, our country, and our military. Thing is, I'm pissed because people are being disrespected every day. Do you understand this? I think people are more important than the flag that nobody's disrespecting in the first place. I have 2 African American boys, 2 African American girls, and 3 African American grandchildren. Every parent worries that one day that they will get a call that one of their children has died or been killed. My wife and I have the added worry that one of ours will be killed just because of the color of their skin. A story hit the news the other day about a booth at gas stations selling signs that said whites only or no blacks allowed. I have seen firsthand somebody change how they treat me as soon as they realize that my wife is black. I have seen the police follow my stepson into the back of our apartment, not once, but twice. Nobody's ever followed me. I have personally been called an N-word lover on several occasions, just because of who I fell in love with. As a matter of fact, on the day my wife was born, it was illegal for us to be married in several states. The Lovings actually were arrested for being married. But still today, many people frown on my marriage with my wife. Some people even try to use the Bible to condemn my marriage. Kind of in the same way some people are saying taking a knee is disrespectful. It's not. One thing everybody needs to remember: when the design for our country's flag was approved, black people were still property. When the national anthem was written, black people were still property. Black women were being raped just because you could rape them. It wasn't even considered rape. How do you rape property? Could you imagine being a father watching a white man drag your daughter off to be raped? And if you tried to stop him, you would be tortured and or killed. Or the doctor who did surgical experiments on black women without any anesthesia. Think about that. How can you expect black people to love a country that force immigrated their ancestors, gave them freedom, and then continue to treat them like shit to this day? And don't give me that, well, if you don't like it, just leave, because that's just racist. By telling them to leave in this manner, you are just saying that you don't care that black people in this country are being treated like crap. Some will probably respond to this by saying, but no one alive today owned slaves, and no black people alive today were slaves. But nobody alive today was alive when our national anthem or our flag were created either. Did you know that an unsung verse of our national anthem talks about killing slaves? Well, if you didn't, here are those verses. Their blood was washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave. For the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave, or the land of the free and the home of the brave. It's speaking of killing hireling and slave. Hireling were mercenaries. So why did Francis Scott Key speak of killing slaves? Well, it's because Great Britain offered American slaves freedom if they joined the Redcoat Army and fought against the United States during the War of 1812. So tell me this, were those men traitors? They fought against the country they were born in so that they could be free. So their wives and daughters were not subject to white plantation owners' sexual perversion. This isn't about the flag. These people who are taking a knee are wanting to make a stand against a country that frankly doesn't give a shit about them. That's what Black Lives Matter is about. They're not saying that everybody else's lives don't matter. They are saying that they don't feel like Black Lives Matter at all. You may say, well, if he wasn't breaking the law in the first place, he would have never been shot and killed. I would give you that, except white people doing the same thing are being released on bail the following day, while black men are being sent to a funeral home to be embalmed. Heck, even when Philando Castile, a black man in Minnesota, did everything right, telling the police officer he had a gun permit, telling the police officer he was armed with a gun, he still was shot and killed. Sad thing is, the only people I saw protesting that were Black Lives Matter. Thing is, when black people protested in the streets, people posted that they wanted to run over them in their cars. I actually saw several of my family and friends post that on Facebook. Then I saw an awful lot of agreement from the peanut gallery. All because somebody might be a little late. That is, in fact, the purpose of a protest, to inconvenience you a little bit. Oh, but what about the ambulances? What about the people who died in ambulances trying to get to the hospital while these protests were going on? I'm a pretty big news junkie and fact checker, and not one time have I seen a news story about anybody dying in an ambulance because they couldn't get to the hospital due to a protest. On the other hand, I have seen news footage of a woman who was killed when somebody ran her over with their car. See, every form of protest is criticized, from taking a knee all the way down to a violent riot. Not just criticized, but threatened with violence. Our country began with an act of defiance. The Boston Tea Party, in fact, was not a tea party. We, in fact, dumped a load of British tea into the Boston Harbor. The thing is, nothing's going to change until people get off their patriotic high horse and realize why they are taking a knee. It's like flying the U.S. flag upside down on a naval ship. It is a sign of distress, not a disrespect. Taking a knee is a sign that African Americans in this country are in distress. Thing is, those who disagree with me probably never will understand. Why? Because they want to continue looking at our country through red, white, and blue shaded glasses. Our country is great, but it's not perfect. Just ask one of our Native American tribes. We seem to have a habit of just going in and taking what we want. Now, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. I guess I'm looking through different colored glasses myself, hoping that I could get somebody to understand. What's going to happen is I'll get a few likes from those who get it, probably get a few well-saids, but then somebody who didn't listen to this all the way through is going to come on and accuse me of being un-American. So let me end this with words from a slave owner. Words that, when written, excluded African Americans. Today, let's make them count for everybody. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thomas Jefferson, 1776. Thank you for listening.